The used car market jumped a staggering 40% higher during the pandemic. But now with prices stabilizing, many of us are left wondering, what should we do with our next car purchase? Should we buy, lease, or finance it? There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but I'm here to guide you through the options. In this video, I'll walk you through a free online calculator you can use to figure out your choice. Then we'll break down the pros and cons of each choice, and I'll explain why buying used could be your best bet today. So I tested out about 10 different online calculators and I found this one to be the best one. So you could check it out here at bankrate.com. It's very easy to use and I recommend walking through this example with me using the car of your choice. And this calculator will work with any car, whether you're in America or Canada or wherever. And you just have to plug in a few different numbers to get it working. And I'll show you how to do that right now. First thing you have to do is to choose the vehicle that you will be purchasing or leasing. And the best way to find out the exact numbers is to actually go to the dealership and get a quote for both financing and buying or for leasing. But if you don't have that information, you can go onto the company website and find out the information there. So for this example, I chose the Ford F-150 because it is one of the most popular vehicles in North America. So every website you can select the type of vehicle that you want. There will be something like a summary page here, and you could click in and find the pricing where you can manipulate some of the variables. So in this case, let's choose finance at 48 months, and the price will be $49,955. So if you go here, you'll find the vehicle information. Just press this little button here to drop it down. So let's change that here, 49955. Now let's see the down payment. Let's put it at 0. Custom APR 1.99%, which seems pretty low, but we'll get into that later. Okay, let's say down payment is 0. The sales tax rate where I'm from is 5%. And the investment rate of return. So this is a very important number. So this number is basically what you can take your money and invest it in and what return that you'll earn as an opportunity cost instead of purchasing this vehicle. Basically, the higher this number is, the worse of an option buying will be over leasing. So for example, if you think you're a stock market wizard and you'll be earning over 10% in the stock market, you'll put something like 10% here. So for a more conservative investor, I would recommend putting something like 3 to 4%. For the middle of the road, I would put 5 to 6%. And if you really think that you have an aggressive portfolio and that you can make a lot in the market, I would put 7% and above. So for this example, let's keep it at the middle of the road at 5% here. Now you want to enter in your buy option. Going back to here, you'll see that we have a term of 48 months, custom APR 1.99%. And we'll have fees of $2,495. All right, so going back to this page, we'll just enter in these inputs. So 48 months, we'll keep the interest rate at 2%. And that does seem a little low, which is why I always recommend going to the dealership because you might not always qualify for this low rate depending on your credit. And the fees here is $2,495, which is already entered in. Now the depreciation rate, now this I think is the most important number in this whole calculator. And I'm going to cut to an explanation why here. I want to highlight the importance of estimating your car depreciation because this is a factor that really moves the needle of how you should make your decision on whether you should lease or buy your car. You can think of car depreciation like an iceberg. The shiny new car you're driving off the lot, that's just the tip of it. But beneath the surface, hidden from view, is a massive chunk of value that's going to melt away in the first few years. To figure out how much your car will depreciate each year, you could try these methods. I have ranged them from easiest to slightly more difficult. The first way is to research average depreciation rates. New cars typically lose about 20% of their value in the first year and 15% each year after that for the next 4 years. This is the method that we use for our example. The second method is to use online depreciation estimators or calculators. Websites like Edmunds and Kelly Blue Book offer tools to estimate your car's depreciation based on its make, model, year, and mileage, and you can use these for free. The third way is to check current marketplaces, which is my favorite method. To gauge your car's depreciation and the market's strength, hands-on research is key. You can start with sites like AutoTrader, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and Kijiji. By checking current listings for your car's make, model, and year, you get real-time insight into its current value and how much it has depreciated. This method is my favorite because it shows exactly what cars are being listed and sold for and not just estimates. Now back to the example. Okay, so after that explanation about depreciation, I'm gonna go with just a simple estimation here. Let's go with 15% depreciation over the 48 months, and that's annually. Okay, now you see that this changed the net cost of buying to $28,000, and we'll get into that after we do the lease here, because that number by itself probably won't tell you too much right now. Okay, so now going to the lease option, bump this down here, and we'll see the different things we'll have to calculate here. So going back to this page, you see that there's a lease option here, and you can see what the lease option is. So the lease option will change to 48 months, so we're comparing apples to apples. And whatever kilometers or miles that you want to choose, say you want to choose 20,000 or 25,000 per year usage, make sure you click that in. See what the pricing, so this says 4.49% interest rate, and we'll also have fees of $2,495. So back at this page, we'll enter in 48 months, the interest rate of, what was it, 4.95. The other fees, 1,000. And this residual percent, after 4 years, it's usually between, I'd say 40 to 60%. So let's put 50% here. And this number, if you're confused about where to get this, it will be given to you by the dealership. And it's not really negotiable. It is what it is. You'll be given what the car value you could resell it back at the end of the 48-month lease term. Okay, so now we see the end result, net cost of buying versus leasing. And we can see that it's almost neck and neck. $34,138 is the net cost to buy, and the net cost to lease is $35,371. So using those numbers that we plugged in, it's almost a toss-up. But I'll show you how, by changing variables, it can really impact what your decision is. So say you change this investment rate of return, say you don't think you're going to earn very much, it's only going to be 3%. Okay, well that bumps down the net cost of buying to $32,000 versus net cost of leasing to $35,000. Still not a huge difference, but let's see if you put, say, 10%. Okay, so now you can see that makes the net cost of buying worse than the net cost of leasing. All right, let's change this back to 5%. Here's where it gets interesting, is the annual depreciation, because this is the factor that is probably the most unpredictable, but that will probably swing the decision the most. So if your annual depreciation is only 10%, so you have a very good and reliable vehicle, or you drive it very little, you can see here that the net cost of buying decreases greatly to $27,000. So that makes the net cost of buying much better than the leasing option. But if your annual depreciation is going to be, say, 25%, say you get a really lemon of a vehicle, you can see that the net cost of buying is $44,000. Basically, what the annual depreciation will determine is the actual market resale value of the car at the end of the 48 months. And that is a very hard thing to predict because the market price really depends a lot on supply and demand at that time. And sometimes it doesn't even have anything to do with, say, the reliability of your vehicle. It could just be that there's a shortage of cars, which is what happened during the pandemic. And we'll get into that more here. Key takeaways from this example, the conclusions I got from this, if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. First key takeaway, high resale value of vehicle. If that's the case, if your vehicle resale value is high, buying or financing is generally cheaper. Low resale value of the vehicle. In that case, leasing becomes more cost effective, especially if you could write off some of it for business purposes. Opportunity cost. When buying outright or putting down a large down payment, the opportunity cost of what could have been earned if the money was invested elsewhere must be carefully considered. Non-financial considerations might be more important. The problem with all of these key takeaways is that they are all just estimates. You won't know exactly what the resale value of your vehicle will be, and you don't know exactly what your opportunity cost will be because you usually don't know exactly what you'll earn in your investments. The car market is unpredictable. For example, if you had leased your vehicle in, say, 2017, you missed out on profiting from soaring used car prices during the COVID-19 pandemic. Owning would have let you capitalize on that shift. Since predicting the market is nearly impossible, non-financial factors might outweigh the financial ones that you are estimating in your buy or lease decision. So here are some of the non-financial considerations that you should seriously consider before you buy or lease. The first one is being ownership preference. Buy for long-term ownership and customization, and you should lease if you prefer new models every few years. Tax write-offs. Leasing offers deductible payments while buying allows for depreciation and interest deductions, and choose based on your business's financial strategy. This is for business owners, by the way. Debt aversion. Leasing means lower payments without long-term debt, but no equity. It may feel less burdensome if you want to avoid debt to lease the vehicle, but of course that comes with higher payments generally than buying it. Flexibility. Buying offers freedom to sell at any time. Leasing locks you into a term, but may include conveniences like warranty coverage. Long-term plans. Buy if you plan to keep your car for many years, and you should lease if you prefer frequent changes. Environmental or emotional factors. Buying supports sustainability more and attachment to the vehicle. Leasing provides access to the latest eco-friendly models. With the higher turnover, it might not feel as personal. Maintenance. Buying means covering maintenance post-warranty. Leasing often includes maintenance during the lease term. Insurance costs. Leased vehicles can potentially require higher insurance, potentially increasing costs over buying. And end of the lease options. Leasing allows the option to buy the car at the end of the term, which might offer you some flexibility if you're unsure about committing to a purchase upfront. Here's a summary table that you can use for the non-financial considerations. I've added a couple more points as well to maybe help you decide. Buying used is another option, and buying used is often the smartest financial choice. While I've leased vehicles for tax benefits in the past, I've never actually bought new cars because used cars are typically the cheapest option. New cars can lose up to 20% of the value in the first year and 50% within 3 years. But by buying cars in that sweet spot of 3 to 5 years old, you avoid that initial depreciation hit and get more value for your money. Plus, the car isn't quite old enough yet to have many major issues. Also, used cars usually have lower insurance costs as mentioned before and less financial burden. With some research, you could find a reliable, well-priced used car that meets your needs, often with better features or comparable ones to a new one. With the recent car market's wild swings, making the right financial choice is important. If you want personalized plans tailored to your situation, head over to blueprintfinancial.ca, the link's in the description, where you can also find this video in written form. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos on top finance tips to keep you ahead of the game.